more and more items in the aura department for the Centaur. It doesn't fill me with the biggest amount of confidence, especially like you were mentioning earlier, the lack of overall lockdown from the side of XG to dish in that damage.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? It's exactly what you said. Like, it's if this is going to get to a point in the game where they probably will run out of damage. I think, yeah. So Xingqiu did go for the solar flare facet as well. So they're going to look to try and hit some of these earlier timings, around about the 30-minute mark, to try and take a lot of these towers and be very, very tanky. So yeah, it is all about a lot of these lanes and how this game is going to go. So we'll have to see if Xtreme start nice and fast, because that seems like it's probably going to be the name of the game throughout a lot of these TI matches. Scenarios it's going to be very fast and it's going to be very aura based. So we'll see who hits these timings. But wonderful thing for us, Snare, is it's back in TI. That means we can do our TI predictions in every single one of these games. Let's go.
All right. So play with the most last hits at 7 minutes. Surely at 7 minutes, who are we putting?
Like who can kill jungle camps? Probably the quick. If I want to say anything, it's probably K1.
K1 Hector on the DK, yeah, with the breathe fire playing on Radiant side. Yeah. Okay, fine. That sounds fair to me. Highest amount of physical damage done to heroes at game's end. Surely that has to be Ame, right? Even though a lot of it's going to end up being reduced, it kind of has to be him.
You'd hope so. You'd hope it's going to be Ame.
Player with
highest 25.
Ooh, who you got for that one?
I think if this game goes well, it's going to have to be for Xtreme at 25 minutes. I think it's going to have to be XXS. I think he's going to have to be like a big baller this game.
Okay, might need to be a big baller right now because there is a small skirmish happening around this bounty rune. They're going to be content to just leave some vision behind and try to debate Xtreme Gaming into de-warding it. Ame holding this high ground, not letting anybody just walk up cavalierly. And it looks like no one's going to fight. It's just going to be a bounty rune trade, perhaps.
They're trying to fight bottom here. They are pretty strong level 1.
Taking a lot of damage here. Divine Llama's also being pressured at the moment. Blood grenades are being dropped, so they're abandoning their tree and protector. Sauce DY, somebody had to get killed, and today it happens to be you.
KJ has the fastest fingers in the West, I think, with that rappel. That was probably one of the fastest rappels I've ever seen on an arrow in my life, because that would have been K1 losing second blood. But luckily enough for Heroic, they got the first opener there onto DY. First kill of the International as well, I believe. I think we started first, but I'm going to coin that anyway, Snare. So unfortunately for DY, first player to die in the road to International in 2024.
Big firsts.
It's all about the firsts around here. That is a nice little start for them, though, to be able to get that opening bit of extra experience, because for the Centaur, it is all about trying to get a lot of these levels into the return early on. So you can just kind of sit down, and then maybe he wants to go for like this double-edged build and just try and push out Ame, because that is one of the weaknesses of the Windrunner, is early on she cannot push people out of lane just because she doesn't have all that kind of damage. And if you get going on with a lot of this magic damage, then, you know, Heroic can definitely start to push Ame out, and he has to try and find other avenues to farm.
I mean, on the bright side for them, though, they're also putting quite a number onto K1 Hector. As we were saying in the draft, he's not going to enjoy his life playing up against the Bristleback in lane. Already been pushed pretty deep underneath the tower. And this game is... For K1 Hector, he has quite a lot to do as well. He has to be very specific about his itemization throughout the game. Make sure that he's both survivable, but that he represents an actual genuine threat whenever he shows up to the battles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be the problem with K1 this game, is he's going to have to try and go for some of these builds that makes him a little bit tanky, but he also still needs to do a decent amount of damage in and of himself. So we'll see what he wants to pull out. He's got a lot of these heroes behind him that can help him out. They've got a lot of magic damage, so, you know, probably looking towards a pipe for Xtreme, maybe somewhere down the line to try and mitigate some of that. But it's going to be an interesting test in the first, 10, 15 minutes. And I really want to see who of the Pos Force is going to make this rotation first. Whether or not it's going to be Xingqiu who's going to come towards this mid lane and try and get that arrow kill onto Analog, try and really get XM towards the top, or whether or not we're going to see Schofield kind of just be a pesky little Skyrath mage and just harass in the middle lane until the Invoker's able to get, a free kill onto XM.
Another thing I just realized, looking at this top lane with KJ on his Omni Knight, because they don't really have the best backline jumpers in the world on the side of Xtreme Gaming, they're really going to struggle to keep a beat on the Omni. And we see this all the time whenever you have like a dedicated healer role, whether it be Omni Knight, Oracle, how much more difficult it is for the opponent to fight if they can't immediately target and kill you. So as this game gets later and later, his positioning is good for KJ. He'll represent a consistent difference maker in these fights because it's just so hard to get to him with this lineup from XG.
Yeah, I think that's maybe one of the reasons why Xtreme didn't want to go for some of these backline heroes, considering the Mars was probably the only one that was left that could reliably kill or at least deal with the Omni Knight. So they just decided for, all right, we have barely that much backline catch for a lot of these other heroes. Let's just try and go for these heroes that will just run into a fight and be able to overwhelm like the Repel and the Guardian Angel and what have you, and be like, okay, you can be sitting in the back as long as you want, but if you're not dealing enough damage to us, we're just going to take the towers and take over the game anyways.
Mid lane, XM versus the Invoker. XM's just doing his thing. Just Viper times. I mean, he's obviously doing well for himself in the CS department, but I can guarantee you, right? I used to play this hero all the time. He's not happy right now. He's looking at Analog's HP and he's like, really, what the hell? Like, this is ridiculous. I should have had this guy chunk through all his regen, be at least a 30% HP by now. But it's Invoker, can't really do that.
Yeah, that's the problem with Invoker, right? Is it's just really one of those heroes right now that just has so much regen and has so much sustainability from themselves that the Viper really can't push him out, and especially it being Coswex as well. That it's just all too easy for him to just burn a lot of this mana and kind of just be a problem. I really like what KJ is doing as well. It's gotten to the point in this lane where, unfortunate for Davai Lama, goes down in the bottom lane, but it's gotten to the point now in this lane where I feel like XXS and K1 have kind of just had like that gentlemanly handshake where they're just like, okay, both of us are going to be annoying laners, but neither of us are really going to kill each other unless we completely screw up, so the supports are going to go run around and at least try and hold off mid for Xingqiu throwing some arrows, right?
Some sportsman-like behavior. You love to see it.
Yep.
It's good stuff. Xingqiu right now is occupying himself by just trying to clear through these jungle camps, stack them up for later farming. I like what KJ is doing right now. Just bullying him away, being like, sorry mates, you're not going to get this triple stack on these ancients. You're going to have to just farm them the old-fashioned way. And sometimes when you're playing support, you don't necessarily have to be doing something bombastic to have impact on the map. These are the kind of plays that make a difference. Knowing exactly where Xingqiu is at. Now, Invoker can play a bit more safely. You're denying the stacks. K1 is just comfortably farming underneath the tower. Love what I'm seeing so far from him, especially after that early repel that kept K1 alive.
Yeah, I think he just kind of understands the game state that we're in right now. We're in a pretty slow kind of game state, so it is just one of those things where, like, you're an Omni Knight, might as well try and slow down the position for so you don't fall completely behind. Because, like, what are you supposed to do against a Bristle in this lane, right? Like, XXS is level 5 now, he's got 3 levels in the quills, like, yes, you're going to throw a hammer of purity at him, but that's basically about it. Maybe they can go towards bottom, where go for a little bit of a tower dive here.
Ame, he gets stunned up right now underneath the tower, but there's not enough damage coming in from Heroic as of yet. So he should still be A-okay. Divine Lama's been playing this one fairly aggressively down bottom. It did get him killed the previous time, but I can understand the impulse to try and contain Ame before the mid game comes around.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you're in a lane now for Heroic that, you know, your top lane is kind of just ended up in a handshake. Middle lane is basically a handshake as well. So you want to try and get something out of your aggressive lane in the Centaur as well as the Sky Mage. But it's just got to the point where they're like, okay, let's just bring all of our resources towards this middle lane. This is probably going to be our easiest avenue to get some of these kills. You know, you just set up with a Tornado and EMP combo, and then Schofield can come in and just throw a little bit of that extra damage with a concussive shot. Maybe they can kill XM and take a bit of this tower, because these towers are going to be oh so important for XXS to keep these ancient stacks alive.
They're playing with the Skywrath Mage in the top lane as well. Schofield, no viable targets as of yet. Dragon Knight form goes in. They're looking for XXX. They stun him up. This is a lot of damage, but this is a Bristleback who just received some healing from the Treant Protector. Not going to be enough to kill him. Did fall to about 30 HP, but he's fine. And here comes Xingqiu looking for vengeance. You touch our boy, we take your lives. Killing off KJ in a very cool fashion there. And none of the lanes ended up suffering too much as a result. They're going back in though, K1 looking to try and bring down XXX. XXX though still kept alive. Analog look for the tornado, missed onto the Bristleback, so he cannot find the kill that he needs. And now he's slowed down by the Nature's Grasp. Here comes Ame out of nowhere, shackles into a tree, hits him with the ultimate. And that is going to be the end of the life of this Invoker. Heroic try to punch them in the nose in the top lane, but instead got their heads taken off as a result.
Yeah, just beautiful execution there from Xtreme, right? Like just the way that they were able to constantly kite around. XXS, the fact that they didn't get the kill on him was really, really bad. You can see Schofield really, really wanted it, but the fact that he had that healing salve just got him above that threshold, and they just weren't able to hit any of those extra spells. And they just overcommitted just a little bit too much for it. And this is kind of the positive of this Wind Ranger, right? She is one of those heroes that can rotate extremely early. And as soon as she does that, she starts getting involved in some of these kills, get that kill on analog, and things start to look a little bit spicy here. So Jinkyu's probably dead.
Yep, analog didn't catch him with all the spells, but did manage to find the Urn out on him. Should lead to a quick death. They popped the Stampede even just to make sure that they can beat a hasty retreat. I feel like that one is an emotional kill, right? You don't actually care that much about the gold you gain from it, but you're like, this Shinkyu guy has been annoying us so much, man. We needed to bring him down.
Yeah, they basically all of Xtreme like broke a few ankles in that top fight as well. So that's definitely like, all right, we need to get something back here. We need to try and utilize some of our spells, and it's really kind of non-committal from a lot of the heroes from Heroic as well. Like, yes, they use Stampede, but I mean, it's 8 minutes into the game. Like, when are you really going to use Stampede again? And this kind of alleviates a little bit of that pressure with Shinkyu going down, that they can make this rotation towards top, because they understand that this is the best place for them to get a lot of this damage. They've got a Dragonite as their position one, so they can take the tower nice and fast. And it also unlocks these ancient stacks for them where they've got a lot of this vision around, because they want to make sure that this Bristleback is not just getting out of control, because it will get to the point where in the mid game for Heroic, if he's got 1 or 2 items, how do they really take him down? Like, they don't have a good break, they don't have that good physical damage either, and they're kind of just relying on EMP to burn all these mana and him to be useless.
For me also, I just realized one of the other scarier things, because unfortunately, they do have that push potential with access to this young Dragon Knight when he's in ultimate mode. But unfortunately, the times will come when he's not in ulti mode. And then what? Where's the damage that they have onto the towers, right? And then in the meantime, when he has to wait for that to come back online, living armor, baby! We're going to be pushing this tier 1 tower top for a long, long time, thanks to DY being such a nuisance right now.
Yeah, and this is why they need to make sure that they get these towers nice and cleanly, right? And they've gone for the smoke early on with these supports and analog. He's got that Urn up and available, 2 charges at the ready, so they want to try and get one of these kills, take these towers nice and early so they can continue this pressure. But Ame, he's got the nose, the eyes, and the ears, and he's able to very easily get away from that gank right now. And this is where things start to get a little awkward for Heroic, right? They've decided to go for this smoke gank. They haven't been able to get anything out of it. Now they're losing their mid tier 1 as well, and they need to try and get this retort back on the tier 1 bottom. Well, this is going to be a massive lead already here for Xtreme. The fact that they're 2k ahead at 10 minutes in is not looking good for Heroic.
For me, the big problem is they have not really been able to involve analog properly. So, not been able to progress out of this mid lane. He's falling further and further behind this Viper. And Invoker is not one of those heroes that plays well from behind, right? It's never been the case. You pick this hero ideally hoping, worst case scenario, you spend some time recovering with the Midas, but this is not what you want when you're playing this Quaswex. He's gonna go bottom now. I think they're hoping to try and pick up somebody's life here. They have access to the Stampede, but there's no real beat on any of these targets. Ame, yet again, knows what's up, taking a twin gate to the top lane. He's gonna be fine.
Yeah, you can just kind of see that, you know, Analog hasn't been on the map for a little while, right? Like, they went towards mid, they're putting a lot of pressure on with the Viper. He's not around there, so they go, okay, Analog's probably trying to gank. What's the best place for them to gank right now? The safe tier 1. You know, it's very, very hard for them to try and get a response to any of these other 2 towers, so they're just going to let this bottom tier 1 go down. And with that, it just means, once again, Analog has wasted quite a lot of time, and this is his 3rd attempt now to try and get something going, and maybe XSS is the target, but look at how much damage K1's taking already. He's got 4 stacks on him.
They're gonna go for it now. There's a Tornado EMP combination. They should have enough to kill off XXX, and thank God it goes the way of Analog as well. Picture perfect situation. The crucial thing for me is that they managed to do so while also defending this tier 1 tower. K1 Hector definitely needs as much space as humanly possible to play with right now.
Well, XM, I was going to say, like, maybe they might want to pop the Stampede to try and get close enough to take down this Viper, who went very deep after taking that tier 1. But, you know, this is the unfortunate trade-off, right? Like, they defend their safe tier 1, but they lose their mid tier 1. And you're playing up against a Treant Protector, so it is going to be one of those scenarios where he's going to constantly be healing a lot of these towers. And if you're losing out on these mid tier 1s, where you're the one that wants to take control of the enemy Ancients, right? Like, if you're Xtreme, who really on Heroic is going to be taking a lot of those Ancients? Yeah, maybe the Dragonite will with his Cleave, but that's about it. You're not too worried about it. Whereas you look across at Xtreme, oh, it's a Bristleback who's going to be taking these Ancient stacks that Jinkyu's been doing. And look at this. Quad stack already. The XXS is going to get through. It's getting ever so close to his own Aghanim Scepter now. And things are starting to look very, very spooky for Heroic because these item timings are starting to come up, right? Like we're looking towards around about that 15, 16-minute mark where you're going to have Arme, he's got his Maelstrom up and ready now. XM's got his Dragonlance. XXS is going to get very close to his Aghanims. And for Heroic, how are you supposed to stop that?
Yeah. I'm mostly worried about Analog on Heroic. I've been following him for a little bit. And outside of the 2 kills he just got, one down bottom, one on top on XXX, he spent literally 3 minutes hitting 3 creeps. It's really problematic. He's literally gotten all the gold he's gained at the moment, primarily just from these kills. I mean, I guess you kind of have to play this style with this hero. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's what you said as well, right? Like, playing Invoker from behind is not really that great unless, you know, you get a Midas at a decent time. And Analog was, you can see he was in 2 minds for a little while, where he was like, do I go Midas or do I go Spirit Vessel? He's going Spirit Vessel now, but, I mean, you probably would have liked, oh, maybe I just, you know, copped the L a little bit and we just went Midas and we just played a little bit slower and protected our towers. But, you know, fortunately for Analog, this is just not the start that you wanted on this Invoker. He's oh so far behind on every single one of these other core heroes that they need to try and find a way where they're strong that he can start to come back into this game. Because if you wait like another, like say 10 minutes, right? Because that's what K1 wants to do, right? He always wants to sit back and farm. You wait another 10 minutes, Invoker's going to be behind by like another, you know, 1,000, 2,000 gold on this Viper and things get worse and worse and worse.
14 minutes into this game, we finally do pick up the Spirit Vessel for said Invoker. And we'll see if he wants to link up with any of the crew to go and make something happen on the map. But Xtreme Gaming are very comfortably just farming up on their side right now. They're not even pretending to play aggressively. They're like, I mean, we're perfectly happy with the farm war at the moment. Arme is getting close to his BKB. XXX about to finish the Aghanim Scepter. Basically one more camp to go. And we're not that far away from having the Yasha for XM. You should have it around the same time as the BKB on Arme. Then it's kind of go time. So Heroic need to do something now. And indeed, they smoke up. But sadly, Fluke, where's the vision? Where is the line on the map? They have absolutely no idea where's the most optimal place to go. At the very least, XM will show himself middle. A nice viable target. They will jump on him. Let's see if they can blow him up. He's inside the Mystic Flare right now. Overgrowth will be there. DY trying to render some support. XM is still alive. Living armor, working miracles. He's still going to die at the tornado. Catches him at the very end. But this might be an expensive kill for Heroic, as they've already lost the Omni Knight. Schofield attempting to run himself towards the west, but he knows his life is forfeit. So it's a 2-for-1 exchange. Yes, XM does die, but an expensive exchange for Heroic, and they can't even pressure towers after this kill.
Yeah, just they took so long to kill the Viper. It felt like they were just slightly disconnected with each other, right? Like you saw Divine Llama, he went in straight away, blink Who's Stomp, and then it was like that 1.5 second delay between the rest of the follow-up and that initial blink Who's Stomp where everyone was able to respond to you for Xtreme. There was a situation where they were maybe thinking about backing out. They're like, oh man, this Viper's a lot tankier than what we actually expected. And then that turnaround came in, and this is the positive thing for Xtreme right now is they're more than happy for them to sit back and wait for their own item timings, but they've also got really good heroes in responding, right? They've got a Wind Ranger, they've got a Mirana who can just hit this Solar Flare, and then as soon as everybody starts to turn around and get these auto attacks going, things get spooky. So, Heroic, yes, they get the kill there on XM, yes, they get Analog involved, but they're losing Roche for it on the back of it.
Yeah. Never underestimate how tanky a Viper can be with 4 points in corrosive skin and sitting underneath the tier 1 tower. Difficult customer. Now though, they get themselves an Aegis in the hands of Arme. Looks like they are content to sacrifice the tier 1 tower mid in exchange for this. And I think the big difference with that previous fight that has changed now. K1 Hector wasn't there with them, right? In the same way. But now he is. He has he decided to go for SNY instead of going for the Manta. What do you think for this game? SNY over Manta? Which do you prefer?
Yeah, I think SMY is probably better. Manta is only really good against the overgrowth, and it's going to be one of those things where Hector's probably going to want to be playing on the front foot and catching out a lot of these other heroes. So I think the Manta probably wasn't going to help him all too much. Whereas the SNY the only real form of a lot of this slow resist and the status resist that comes out from the Viper. So I definitely like it. I've been seeing Hector specifically on a lot of his carries just loving SNY, going back to the old school days. But KJ,
it's fine. Still at GA to pop. Hammer Purity was coming back in a second. He's fine.
He's definitely fine. I think it's also at the point now for Heroic that because K1 is so big that they could probably fight into this Aegis if they wanted to. There still isn't the BKB up now for Arme. They've only just gotten the Aghanim Scepter here on XXS. XM still only just has his Yasha, so they're not at critical mass just yet for Xtreme Gaming, and this Aegis is probably going to provide a little bit of this extra time for them in these team fights. But I think the way that how strong K1 is right now, this is definitely an opportunity for them to try and get a little bit of a snap back against Xtreme, who feel very, very strong. But this Dragon Knight, he's going to pack a punch, man. Like, look at how much damage he does with armlet active. Yeah, he hits for almost 300 at this point.
It is actually quite nuts.
Yeah.
They're going to go on him right now. Arme realizing very quickly that there's no points. He's like, this man is literally taking 0 damage. All right.
Yeah, that is Arme just testing to see if his whirlwind button works. And it does, so congrats to Arme. Your ulti still works, buddy. But I think the way that it is right now, that was mainly just them trying to test the waters to see how scared Heroic are, right? Like, they just go, okay, how tanky do they feel K1 is? Let's try and poke the bear a little bit and see what their response is going to be. It was just simply a stampede. But yeah, like, what, they're 100 gold away from BKB. I think as soon as you get BKB for K1, you just try and go. You try and catch some of these heroes out because XXS, Arme, as well as XM, they're all going to be pretty confident to try and play a little bit split on the map, right? Because they're like, oh, they don't want to fight into us. It's an Aegis. Like, everybody else is super far ahead. But I think K1 can bridge that gap. So I really would like to see an aggressive move here from Heroic. They just go together with even just the Centaur and K1. I think those two together can catch out almost any of these heroes and take them down and at least get a kill on the map.
Bro, as this DK gets stronger and stronger, Omni Knight is building into a Solar Crest right now. Eventually, he's also going to have that insane 15 talent. If you get Shine put on you plus Repel and your BKB, that's the DK. Like, what can they even do on the side of Xtreme Gaming, man?
That's the question, is like, how do you deal with DK when he has all these buffs on him? Like, that's kind of the thing that Heroic are kind of just banking on right now, is that, yes, they can't really deal with the Bristleback right now because he is also very scary, but their Dragon Knight, I think, does just more damage right now. More damage quickly. Because, you know, XXS kind of relies on this fights going a little bit longer, him to build up a lot of his Q stacks. He wants to turn around with his Ag Scepter, you know, he wants to start just throwing out these calls and have you, whereas the Dragon Knight, it's actually got a decent amount of burst, right? You know, Blink Dragon form and a few auto attacks. You can see how hard he hits already. Pops that BKB and things are going to get very, very spooky very quick for Xtreme. And they're just putting K1 on the front lines and saying, all right, buddy, let's take some towers.
They're just only lasting for another minute at this point. So they're daring them to come and fight. DY will delay proceedings as long as possible, and here come the TPs. Viper coming in, XXX coming in. They get the ultimate out onto K1. The arrow, though, does not connect, so he can still get out of here. And they're still waiting with the Stampede if needed. Tornado went in. They caught XXX. He's been hit with the Mystic Flare. Sunstrike to Fruit. He's almost dead. Eventually does die, but Divine Llama follows him into the grave. Now, though, K1 Hector with the BKB going. They bring down Arme, turn their attention towards DY, burn him down with the Meatball. That's 2 heroes already gone, and K1 Hector still standing strong. More than 50% HP available. Still has the Omni Knight behind him. And it looks like this tier 1 tower, or tier 2 tower, excuse me, is going to be falling just like some of these heroes on XG.
So this is what I was talking about, right? Like, yeah, you have an Aegis, but it's like, you can't deal with the Dragon Knight at this point. Like, he has all these buffs behind him. He has Repel, he has Guardian Angel, he has Alacrity, he has all the control that comes in from the Invoker and all these other heroes that he can just stand and deliver. And he is just so far ahead, everybody, like, he's 4k ahead of Arme, who's having a pretty good game. Like, it's one of those things where he's just so infinitely far ahead than everybody else that is in the game, that if he just stands there and doesn't get like 100 to 0'd, he's going to do the most damage in that team fight. And that was the hard part there for Xtreme, is they start that fight. Not only did they start that fight where Arme was basically half HP, they started that fight where they tried to go on the Dragon Knight. going on the Dragonite is going to be the hard thing to do. You need to try and take everybody else out of these fights and make sure that the Dragonite is the last one that you deal with, because he's just going to have every buff thrown on him in the game, and he's not going to get that.
We also got to see in that fight part of the issue from the Xtreme Gaming side, the lack of reliable lockdown. If they had like a stun before that arrow was supposed to connect, and then the arrow hits, and then he's still underneath the tier 2 tower, the fight is potentially different, but he literally just walked. He got hit by a Viper Strike and just walks away. He's like, alright, whatever. Now I'm daring you to chase me. And they took that bait, ended up losing the fight. So it really is becoming a problem. I guess they do have the Gleipnir from Ame, but you never want to be expending that as the first salvo of spells in the fight.
And now with the Omni having the shard as well, means that he's just going to get purified for even more of his HP. And it's just going to be this scenario where this Dragonite's going to get to the point where he's just going to be able to chunk through everybody. Like, he's already been able to do that. Like, once he gets this MKB, Arme's not going to be able to stand anywhere near him. And they're going to try and... They're probably just going to run out of ideas, right? Like, it's going to get to the point where it's like, okay, we've tried everything. We've thrown everything at the Dragonite. That didn't work. We threw everything at everybody else, and the Dragonite killed us then. So it's really the plan of attack. And I like that they're trying to get a little bit aggressive now, but again, running into the Dragonite...
Hector's the first one found. KJ trying to bail him out of trouble here. There will be a stampede. He's still running. He hasn't actually activated BKB until just now. He was feeling a lot of bravery in that moment. Unfortunately, once he does pop the glowing yellow orb, they have no way to catch up to him. He's just gone, man. That's so sad. 4 heroes come across your carry and he escapes just like that.
Yep, BKB and Repel, very, very good combination. But now BKB is on cooldown. We do have the MKB available for the Dragonite, so K1 is in, once again, very strong territory. XSS, though, freshly picked up Bloodstone. So this is where things start to get a little bit spooky, where there's these 3 cores on the side of Xtreme are starting to reach towards some of their critical items.
Llama gets 2 heroes inside the hoof stomp. It's Centaur starting off the fight well. They've blown up the Treant Protector. Now they're looking towards XXX. He's dishing out a lot of damage with this Bristleback, but it's not going to be enough. K1 Hector brings him down. Ame with his BKB active going for the Whirlwind, but he dies during the Whirlwind. The MKB a little bit too strong from K1, and now XM yet again getting caught in the double stun of the Llama. He gets killed off, joined in by Shin Q. It's an ultra kill for K1 Hector and a team wipe for Team Heroic.
Oh man, this K1 Dragonite, bro, it is just too hard to kill. This is the problem that I said as soon as that MKB came out. It's Ame goes in a whirlwinds, and then K1 says, thanks bro for coming within auto attack distance. And that's all he did. He just clicked him. That's all he had to do. It's just getting to the point now where this Dragonite, this net worth just never got dealt with. It just never got addressed by Xtreme. They were at a point where they felt pretty comfortable. We felt pretty comfortable with how their game was going. They looked pretty much in the lead, but K1 hasn't been touched. He's 4-0-4. How many creases has he killed? Almost 400 at 25 minutes in the game. Like, this guy knows how to farm. And this is the thing when it comes to Heroic, is a lot of their games when they're looking extremely on top is when Analog's the guy who's being in front. But sometimes they just need K1 to be hitting creeps, and that's all that he's done so far. And this is where Heroic really start to feel in their element, where K1 is the guy who is leading the charge, and they're able to just constantly give him these beautiful fights. And it's AK lead now. 25 minutes in here, Snare. Things are starting to get spooky for Xtreme.
He dealt 8,300 damage in that last fight by himself.
Yeah, gross.
And now he's about to pick up a Satanic. Oh gosh, this is a big problem. They were already struggling before, and if I look at their drafts, it's not like they have like Spirit Vessels or any kind of heal reduction available. He's gonna get the full value out of that Satanic every single time. Super, super tanky. And I think we've also reached that point that we were talking about in the draft. They're starting to run out of damage, Fluke. Like, who's actually hurting and bringing these heroes down? XXX is marinating them, but no one's ticking them over into the lethal territory.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue that they had for XSS in that previous fight was the Spirit Vessel. It just meant that he wasn't able to heal from the Bloodstone. Like, he activated it and he got a lot of damage coming out with his School Sprays and turning his back. But with that Spirit Vessel, it just meant that he wasn't able to heal back up to full. So I think in these next couple of fights, Xtreme really need to find some way of purging the Bristleback. You can see Jinkyu is going towards this Lotus Orb, but that's got to be a whiles away for now. So probably looking at XXS to try and get some way himself.
Speaking of XXX, might be in change. He's so lucky that the Llama was further back than everybody else. Otherwise, the Llama just jumps him. I mean, speaking of Divide, look at him. He's got a Lotus Orb of his own. So now they have even more tools to protect this Dragon Knight with in the rare event that you actually stun him while KJ is not around.
Yeah, it's so hard, man. Like it's really just so hard. It's just got to the point where this Dragonite is way too tanky to deal with, even if he is by himself. Elven Tunic now as well, 3.8k HP without the Armor toggled on. Armor toggled on 4.3. Yeah, that's balanced. Thanks, Val. It's just one of those classic games where K1's able to hit creeps. Like, how many times have we seen this snare across the entirety of his career, across the entirety of his TIs as well, where it's just, game's not looking that good for K1's team. Oh, we turn around, he's hit 400 more creeps than the enemy carry. Okay, he has a 10,000 network lead just by himself. Like, this guy is a freak when it comes to hitting creeps and carrying teams.
Yep. This is giving you like flashbacks of K1 Hector PL. Team is losing, getting run over, but he's just quietly chilling, doing his thing. And now look at the advantage they've gotten. They got the Aegis, they were about to blow up DY, and they grabbed their Wisdom Room as well. Damn, man. They're in your pockets too. That's a bit much. They could kill Analog here. They have vision of him. He doesn't have his team around him, but they're too scared. XG doesn't want to take the chance. They also, yet again, don't have reliable lockdown. Only Shin-Q has an arrow, but if that doesn't connect, Invoker's 100% out.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? There's just no way for them to just quickly and reliably jump on somebody, get the catch, and force them back. Did he cancel a TP?
How many TP?
Oh, no. Well, that's a Liner Axe. Oh, Analog's cutting him off again. He got vision of him on the high ground. He knows where he is.
He's just shadowing this guy.
Pesky little boy.
He's keeping him on his toes while his team is busy taking down the lane of Rax top. They don't get the full Rax though. Ame will force out a BKB from Analog, but Analog feels kind of comfortable with this. They get a tier 3 tower and a range Rax in exchange for a BKB charge. You'll take that trade.
Yep. Yeah, and it's at the point now where maybe if that TP worked there from Ame, they could have potentially tried to have a go at Heroic, but like, you're not killing the Dragonite twice. You're definitely not killing him once. So even if you do go on the backgrounds, like, I'm just trying to think, like, how do they get in the back? Like, this is the problem that you pointed out in the laning phase, right? Like, who's gonna jump in the backline? Like, Viper needs to go in through the front, Bristle needs to go in through the front, maybe Wind Ranger, like if Ame gets like an Ags or something like that, but like, that's a ways away. Like, it is gonna be so hard for them to try and catch this Omni Knight, who just literally just needs to sit back and go, K1, tell me when you're scared, and then he tells him, and then he hits repel, and then they just, I don't know, team fight from there on out. Like, it seems like a pretty straightforward game plan from Heroic here, whereas Xtreme are the ones that need to try and figure out this puzzle to try and keep this game one going, because this was definitely a series at Xtreme. If you look at it on paper, you're looking at this this series here. Like, yeah, you probably would say this is going to be a very tight series, but you know, if you're looking towards trying to make a guess, maybe you're leaning towards a 2-0 for Xtreme, but Heroic starting out hot.
I'm just proud of both of us for not falling prey to the trap of it's Xtreme, because we both looked at the drafts and were like, we like you Xtreme, but I don't know about this one. I also don't know.
It's all the years of covering Chinese Dota, mate. That's what it is. We've been conditioned at this point.
Scary moments abide because we just picked up an AC for K1 Hector, as well as having reached level 15 for Omni Knight. So now we have the Super Repel available and an AC. Like, at the very least, a lot of the damage has been coming out of this Bristleback with the Cool Spray, but now with the AC being available, I don't know if you tickle him at all. And now here he is on the high ground. Repel on him. Still has his AC, SNY, and 2 minutes left on an Aegis. Good luck, Xtreme Gaming. Let's see how they approach this.
They're going to have to try and force some spells out of these.
Okay, they actually found KJ, but Ame doesn't have enough damage to kill him off. There's going to be an overgrowth from DY. They're isolating K1 from the rest of the team. He still has his Aegis though, and now Stampede does get popped. They're getting out of here. They haven't managed to find any kills just yet. K1 Hector going 1v1 against XXX, who's turning his back towards him, but now some of the damage magically is streaming in from the Invoker and the Skywrath Mage. Forced off away from the Sunstrike, XXX will still live. But that was one of the best case scenarios, Fluke. They found Omni Knight first at the back of the fight. They Gleipnir onto Centaur so he couldn't counter-initiate. They got the full ultimate out with BKB from Ame. XXX stood 1v1 against K1 Hector, and they still killed absolutely nobody.
Yeah, it's the problem with Guardian Angel, right? Like, it's just going to mitigate all of that damage. It means that the Wind Ranger can't get in, deal all that damage. Bristleback can't get in, deal all that damage as well. So, as long as Guardian Angel is up and out, things are going to be very hard for Xtreme to win these fights. And Heroic, I believe even in that last fight, I barely saw Schofield. So you know, if they can't even get into the backlines and take down a small little Skywrath mage, things are looking pretty dicey for Xtreme. Like, that is one positive. This is the Chinese Dota hopium that is starting to creep into my brain right now. They at least proved that they know what they need to do, but Ame, oh no.
Ame gets bursted. And that's unfortunate because he doesn't have his BKB in that moment because he had to pop it in the bottom fight. If he has BKB, he's fine, but they catch him in a moment of weakness. No buyback available either. That's certainly going to be a lane of racks in the top lane, perhaps even more. Xtreme Gaming doing their utmost to fight them back, but a consistent theme of this game, Fluke. Where is the damage? They're just tickling them right now.
You can't touch this Dragon Knight. You can't touch the Centaur. They have too much control. They have too much peel. They have too many ways of resetting the fights as well. Unfortunately for XXS, he just has not been able to be that big scary bristleback that he wanted to be this game. They need to wait for Ame to get in here. There's still 30 seconds left until their carry comes in. They're probably going to lose another tier 3. Depends how frisky Heroic are feeling.
I can't imagine how terrible XXX feels right now. Like, spray after spray after spray, and K1 is gaining HP? What the hell is this, man?
He basically had, 6-7 stacks on the Dragon Knight, and Dragon Knight did not care. The repel, all the status resist as well. It's just too hard for him to try and chunk through this Dragon Knight. He has, 40 armor. Like, there's no way that you're making this Dragon Knight feel weak in any of these fights. Even with the break as well, right? Like, usually, in years gone by, the break has been such a massive thing for the Viper to try and deal against this Dragon Knight. But he's just been able to overcome that with so many of these other extra items. And also the repel just means that he doesn't really have to worry about it all too much. He can keep a lot of those debuffs off him with that debuff. Status resist.
Oh boy. It's a 9k gold lead. They're smoking up through the middle because K1 Hector is very, very cavalierly just pushing a lane of racks. Just don't mind me, guys. I'm just chilling, doing my thing. Dude, this is actually highway robbery. How can you do this and then just walk away? There's nothing we can do about it. In fact, they jump in though. DY, look for the overgrowth. Didn't find enough targets though. The tornado caught Ame in the top, so he cannot really help with this fight. But they blew up the Schofield Skywrath Mage. DY will end up falling, and now here comes K1 Hector, wanting to rein in his damage, fighting 1v1 against this Bristleback. He's been shackled up though. This might be their opportunity. This might be the only time when he's falling lower and lower, and they eventually get him. K1 is down. Now, who else is going to be taken along with him? Divine Llama trying to run down XM, but he's run out of mana right now. Starting to run out of HP as XXX just running around him, trying to dish in the cool spray damage. The arrow will miss both of the targets, and I don't think he wants to go up the hill for the full chase. Tornado ensures that the TP out is there for the Centaur. He's going to be cool. I don't think KJ will be as lucky. They were hoping for a Sunstrike kill onto XM at the very least, but it does not emerge. And that fight, we were wondering consistently, Fluke, how do they get in? DY is the answer. He not just blinks, but he evaded the blink on top of him by the Centaur, taking Centaur out the fight, starting things off in the best way possible. Incredible fight from XG.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the damage numbers from the fight recap, right? XSS did 7.2k, XM did 6.1k, Analog did 4.8, Divine Llama did 7.4 and 6.4 from K1. And there still wasn't a team wipe either way. Like, that is 40,000 damage got done in that team fight, and only a grand total of 5 people died. Like, these fights are going to be so long and grindy because everybody is so tanky, but that was such a good start from there from both these two teams, right? You already said that Ame has been able to bait out that Blink Hooster. Another big thing, Analog actually purged off the DD rune that was on Ame. I feel like that probably would have been a completely different scenario if he still had DD throughout that entire fight. So, Heroic, I think they figured out now that, okay, K1 is mortal. We still need to play this game properly and not make sure that we're, giving away a lot of these free fights to Xtreme, who are starting to build up a little bit more of that net worth themselves. They've got themselves an IS Guardian now on the Viper. They've got BKB now on XXS as well as his own AC. So, these heroes, they're starting to bridge that gap between them and K1.
Bro, XXX got 2,000 gold from that kill.
Yeah, because he killed K1, who had 30k net worth. Dota, don't change.
I love this game. Well, it's a 7k gold lead still for Heroic, but like you said, mortality has been demonstrated. And now instead of just running headlong into the base like they've been doing all this time, they're like, you know what, maybe let's find some pickoffs. They smoke up, gonna head towards the Roshan pit. They know that this is the next port of call. This would be an excellent time to arrive, but this Rosh goes very quickly, Fluke. They're too late. They took too long. They're not gonna get you in time.
Yeah, they won't. There's also a nice little ward in these extra couple of corners for Xtreme Gaming, so if there was going to be a scenario where anybody was going to come close, they were able to get out there, and the smoke is for naught now for Heroic, so they just got caught napping right now. Pants got taken down. To be fair though, Heroic, they only have a few more racks to go until Mega Creeps are up, so another few more of these slip-ups from Xtreme, things can start to swing back in their favor. But this is what we're expecting from the team of Xtreme right now. These guys coming into this #1 seed in China, the hope for Chinese Dota to win another TI in the past, what was it, 6 years? I think we did the math. TI 6 was the last time they had a TI win. So these guys need to prove that they are here to party, and this is a good way for them to pull back into this game before Heroic close it out.
Yeah. Ame. Man, I really want Ame to win a TI. Like, he's been so close so many times.
Yeah, the king that never was, right?
Yeah. King. I guess if you want to make, you could actually literally make a Chinese super team based off of guys who were supposed to have won TI but didn't. You know, you put in Burning.
That's so depressing to think about, because there's been so many great Chinese players, and you're like, yeah, let's make a super team out of all the ones that just didn't win TI. Like,
Yep.
that's so depressing, man.
K1 Hector, one of the few depressing parts about being this farmed is you run out of slots. Now all he has left is the Agnum Scepter and the Moonshot upgrade. But we are pretty much seeing the max level of what this DK can present into the game. And that's sort of good news for Xtreme Gaming, right? He's a known quantity now, not going to be getting that much stronger. And they're going to smoke into them. They have the Aegis. And unlike in the last fight, I don't think that Heroic want to fight them with this Aegis, but they're going to have to take the fight regardless. As here they come on the high ground, DY looking for overgrowth targets, doesn't find it just yet. And XXX already falling so low. He ate a Mystic Flare, ate a ton of damage. Going to be forced to use the Bloodstone with the Bristleback. Gets him up to some decent HP. DY breaks up the fight with the overgrowth that gives XM a chance with Ame there with the Whirlwind. He's in between three heroes. Look at Ame go. Already killing off the Invoker, taking KJ with him. And now Devilama hoping to try and escape this one. Gleipnir will be dropped down. He's going to get killed off. XXX with the damage. 3 heroes have fallen. Ame finally gets the opportunity with the Whirlwind active to really lay in the damage.
XXS with the fast fingers there to be able to get the BKB off as he gets stunned, so things start to look a little bit better for Xtreme Gaming, and that was just a fight that they needed to take, right? You can just see how this game quickly swings back. K1 died once this game, and this game has completely swung momentum all the way back in the favor of Xtreme. A few more of these Aegis, a few more of these team fights are just starting to come back in their favor, and Ame, that was such a sick way for him to get in towards the backline, right? After picking up that Aghanim Scepter, it is so hard for them to try and deal with this win range. It was so close for losing XM, and you can just see they know that there is no buybacks here for Heroic, and they're going to get it done here, Snare.
Are you kidding me? One last hurrah. Can Schofield do it? No, he cannot. K1, he's in the midst of everybody here. They have dropped the fortification. Ame is there with the damage. They're ignoring him, Fluke. They just want to go for the W. They're going for the jugular, and they'll succeed in doing it. GG, well played is called. Xtreme Gaming make the comeback of the day. This is how